Before we begin, we'll start with a few opening remarks from Don, and then we'll go right into a Q&A. So Don, go on ahead.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Our apologies that we've been a little off the radar for the last couple of days. You can imagine in conjunction with the protocols and medical advice, we have not returned to the facility, the people that were on the travel party. And again, that's just adhering to all the medical advice and the protocols of the National Hockey League. But I want to make ourselves available to answer any questions as we continue to gain knowledge and move forward over the next couple of days, and, with the hope of returning to a practice environment at some point in time on Wednesday. But we have some hurdles to cross before we can get there.
Thank you, Don. We'll take our first question from Steve Conroy.
Hey, Don, how you doing?
Good. I would have preferred to give the first question to Kevin Paul Dupont, based on his a little bit being ticked off maybe at me or our group. So, but go ahead.
I can't control the Zoom. I don't have those controls.
I'm just kidding.
I know the league had written in its statement that you guys had complied with everything, but have you been able to narrow it down as to why this may have happened?
Again, you know, the protocols and such, and who's on the list, the league puts forth and produces. We just follow the steps accordingly, whether those are contact tracing steps or positive test steps. We just have to follow in line with what the league recommends and best medical advice. Our doctors are included in that. Both teams at times are included in that. And then, you know, you play the games that are scheduled and as they come, or you make adjustments as we did. So as far as the tracing started things, again, the league does several steps. They're doing absolutely everything we can with extra point of care testing and everyday testing to eliminate all the variables that you possibly can. But you're going to find, and you have found over the course of time, that you know, the virus continues to spread, and then you have to kind of narrow down where it has. We've done some of that through the tracing such. And then you just, out of abundance of caution, and you've seen it in different times where teams have had to take a pause, and that's where we are. We're in the middle of our pause, and hopefully we've contained where we thought the initial test result was, and you go from there. The
list has neither shrunk nor grown since Friday. Are you under the impression that if you do play on Thursday, you will have to play without these players?
Again, subsequent testing here over the next couple of days may determine who's available to us. We do believe that we'll have a couple of players that will be unavailable, and then the rest of the test results will determine who is available to participate on Thursday night if we're able to do so.
Thank you.
We'll go to Kevin Dupont.
I want it noted that I was observing protocol there and letting the Herald go first.
I wanted to note that I was, you know, all for allowing you to go first with several questions if you had them to get them off.
Much appreciated. Plenty, sure.
Okay.
First of all, how did everyone get back? Because it was made obvious in the release that the group was segregated. So how did it? You know, what were the details there?
Yeah, again, we worked with the league and the PA and all the doctors to set up individual travel for the players that needed to be separated. And then the rest of the group had done their testing, and we felt comfortable they would be able to get on a plane and adhere again to the protocols we have while we're even on the plane, and arrive safely. And all the other players that traveled individually were able to also return safely.
And how did they do that individually? Did they drive themselves home?
No, we had individual car services that were set up to make sure the players and the drivers were separated.
Okay. And you mentioned right off the top here, Don, that you've got hurdles between now and Wednesday. What's the most significant hurdle?
Well, testing protocols will determine whether or not we get back, in full capacity, or what capacity we get to, either be it on Wednesday or Thursday. And really, most of the time, it is revolves around testing, and the league has done a fabulous job of trying to add secondary layers of point of care and game days and such that, and even in our case on non-game days or on other teams' case. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to follow the medical advice and cross our fingers to a large degree that everybody remains negative, or the people that have to continue to test and hopefully return with a full group.
Just from a mathematical standpoint, if these 5 guys still had to be segregated as of Thursday, you would have enough bodies to play Thursday. You'd feel okay about the numbers of bodies you have, the quality of player to go ahead and play Thursday?
Well, you have to field your team. You're playing a game. You have to put together the roster as best you can. And the players that are available have to go out and do the job. So if we had to recall other players or players who are returning from IR that had been working all along, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to put forth the absolute best roster we can and compete and play in the game that we're scheduled to play.
Okay, last one from me on open mic night here. Can you give us an idea of where the 7 injured players stand in terms of, obviously a guy like Lausanne's not ready, but there's quite a list here of where's Carlos stand, especially on the concussion.
Well, all those players have been able to utilize the facility during the time we were away, as well as the last few days, because they were not in the traveling party and not subject to quarantine. And all of them have made progress. I can't determine as of today, because we're not together as a group and not fully practicing, as to whether or not any or all those players are returning to play if we do play on Thursday night. But several of them are getting closer, and we're hopeful in short order that they will become available to us.
Has anyone been on the ice here this Sunday, Monday, today?
Yeah, we've had players. There was a scheduled day off for all players, including the injured players. And obviously the quarantine people have not been anywhere near the facility other than to test. But the other players have had access to the ice. If you were on IR, if you were part of the injured party here at Warrior while we are on the road, then you're not subject to the same quarantine requirements that the rest of us are all required to uphold to.
Carlo's been skating.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go to Dan Roach.
Hi, Don. Couple quick questions. Also, I don't have the anger of Kevin Paul Dupont. I don't bring that with me. So just the first question would be, does this at all affect if you guys are a go for Thursday, having fans in the stands at the Garden?
No, the plan is to move forward with the 12% in the Garden, and all the people there under Amy and Cam and everybody has done an unbelievable job to prepare the building to welcome, and thankfully so welcome back the people that want to support our hockey club and the first responders and healthcare workers that we're going to be able to acknowledge. But just to have people back in the building and cheering for us is going to be a welcome thing for the players and really for everybody involved.
And also, just what's this been like? I know other teams have gone through it. We've seen it with New Jersey and what have you. But what's it been like for the last 5-6 days for you and the hockey club? How emotional a time is this? Because obviously we're trying to go forward, like you said, with the fans in the stands, but it's got to be pretty emotional for you and your hockey club to have to deal with this.
Well, I think there's mental fatigue involved with a lot of these things. You've got a lot of people that are making decisions for you and putting forth their best medical advice. And even whether or not we're playing that game on Thursday night, and you're not in a normal routine of preparing, you're not at the rink on Friday. You're waiting until a certain period of time when test results come back before you're able to go to the rink, as a group. It's challenging on the players, challenging on the coaching staff, and for all teams involved, not just for our team, because the other team's wondering, okay, they had an equipment person test positive. We have another player that's removed from the game, so you're just wondering. It's kind of a little bit of looking over your shoulder and wondering, is there another shoe to drop? And mentally, I think it's challenging. But again, the league has done an unbelievable job to try and put forth all the health standards that's necessary. They've evolved as we've gone through to add layers, and we're all trying to do the best we can. I think the whole world, not just our sports, it's all society, and we just all hope that we're going to remain as healthy as possible and get through this as a group, and hopefully the sport and the individuals will come out better. But it's mentally tiring for the players and the staff involved. I think that's all part of it.
Thank you, and no disrespect to Kevin Paul. So.
Thanks, Rochi. We'll go next to Joe McDonald.
Hey, Donnie. How does this pause right now just affect your decision making moving forward before the deadline?
Well, we're meeting as groups to decide, based on my discussions with other teams, and ultimately, I said before, the health of our group and how well we're playing will sometimes determine it, as well as the availability of players that you might like to add. So I think they're all variables associated with it. And I can't tell you whether or not, we're going to make a move in any direction. I think, as I said before, we'd like to. But a little bit of the health of our hockey club may dictate that. We're going to have faced even more compressed schedule as we go through the next 28 games. It's going to be against a war of attrition. You think it was in the playoffs you have a war of attrition, but I think that the balance of the schedule is going to present some of those challenges. And some players are getting an opportunity. We're testing depth. We've played 12 defensemen in the course of 28 games, and obviously several forwards are getting an opportunity. We'd like to be healthy and fully evaluate, but that might not be possible as well. So it has a factor into what we're trying to do or what we'd like to do. But I think all teams are dealing with it.
And given those variables that you talked about, are you more apt to do something sooner than get it right up to the final, hour, or maybe a little sooner than you have in the past?
I think anybody would prefer to act a little sooner and get your group together, and acclimated as you go through it. But again, I don't think anybody has a timeline. You talk to Canadian teams, they'd like to do it way in front because they're facing 14 hard days before a player is available to them. But again, the other teams are dictating, where the supply is and what the demand is. So, I can't predict whether or not we'll be earlier or on the deadline day.
Thanks, Donnie.
Thanks, Joe. Time for a few more. We'll go next to Jimmy Murphy.
Hey, Don. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just cooking some dinner and listening to you. Just wondering, just the feel you've gotten so far on the trade market. Are UFAs more in play because teams are so strapped against the cap going forward with the flattened cap and everything, and they don't want to add term and money? I mean, how is that UFA market shaping up as a result of the unique situation of this season?
UFA market, meaning
In terms of trading for UFAs.
Again, I don't necessarily think it's any tilted in any one direction or the other. I think people are talking about different players. I think some teams have the ability in looking in forward-thinking manner to add a player, and other teams don't. And UFAs are much more attractive to some teams, and in other cases, it may be a nice leverage play to be able to add a player going forward. So expansions have certainly been a topic of conversation, within our own group, as well as external conversations. So I think there's a lot of balls in the air, Jimmy, and that might just be the timing, the type of year everybody's having, and the compression of the schedule, the injuries, and what everybody's just trying to sort through, as well as a flat cap environment, and who you have your own RFAs that you'd like to sign, or are they ARB eligible, and how that's going to impact. I do believe the discussions have been on a much broader base than maybe a myopic viewpoint as you may have had in years past the deadline.
And then one more question. Just, you and Cam, last time you guys both spoke, you were adamant, we've got this core, they're getting older. We want to make another run at it. Has anything changed that, or is that still the mentality?
Well, ultimately, it's how your team is. The core guys have been a big part of our success, and will remain a part of our success this year and in the future years. And not all of them will be a part of that. That's just sort of a cycle of how all teams operate. But we base it on how our team is playing and what are the opportunity we have to continue to move forward, and the health of our group. And adding to it, recognizing where our deficiencies are, we acknowledge those in some areas, whether that's going to be internal fixes and players that may be able to come up and help us throughout. We've proven the depth of the organization has been pretty solid, certainly defensively as a group, that we've come in and done well. We've had Daniel Vladar went in and played his first game in Pittsburgh and played really well. We got a win there, so we've tested some areas of our organization depth wise, and but we've also acknowledged that if we can add and improve our hockey club, we'd like to do that for now and for the future going forward. And really, the team itself and how they're playing usually indicates whether or not how aggressive you're going to want to be.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll take two more. We'll go to Matt Porter first, and then Sophia to round us out. Go ahead, Matt.
Donna, just a couple quick ones. The schedule obviously being so compressed, we understand that there is a little wiggle room at the end of that schedule. Have you had discussions with the league, or is it your understanding that other general managers are looking to, use that wiggle room to kind of push games, expand the schedule a little bit. Is that an option for you right now?
General managers don't get the opportunity to lobby and push. The league has its challenges. They know what days and what games they can place and move around. Again, they've done an unbelievable job to try and fit the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together. And we knew that was going to happen when other teams had issues. Now we have had issues, and we've impacted our schedule and others. They'll make the games up where they can. If that means to add at the end, they'll have to look to do that and fit in as many games as they possibly can. With the goal clearly is to play all 56 for all teams. And but how many more shutdowns or how many more things may have to change or go correct before those things come to light? That's up to the league to decide. They give us an indication of where they think they can fit things in, and based on our building availability and the schedules of everybody else, and they'll continue to again with the goal to play all 56 games and utilize whatever time frame they have.
Yeah, and just to clear up, the guys that are on the COVID list, you mentioned that they were reporting for testing. Is that all they're allowed to do? Are they allowed to, be in the building? Other than that, do you think that are any of them potential candidates to play Thursday? Again,
the only thing that the travel party is able to do is go in and test. We're in a hard quarantine situation, so that's what we're adhering to. And the test results will determine who will be available to us to play on Thursday night. And players have to test negative in the same fashion as everybody else to be afforded the opportunity to continue to play, be it staff, coach, everybody. And if we can continue to do so, we will have some of those players, on the travel party return with us.
All right. Same time tomorrow then.
Okay. Look forward to it.
All right. Sophia Yerkstovich, round us out.
Yeah, sorry. Matt actually asked my question about scheduling. I just didn't want to.
Well, give Dupes a chance to answer another one. I'm just kidding.
You do have a chance to answer. I guess I was more curious about the scheduling and then the emotional side you'd address as it being exhausting. But have you been able to? You're obviously talking to Bruce Cassidy about just. I guess you're filling him in on what you're hearing from the league, and have you been able to talk to any of the players just about what's going on, and are you able to fill them in as well?
Yeah, we try and communicate as effectively as possible, shooting out updates. Certainly Bergie does a really good job of connecting with the players. When we do have updates, we've been in a holding pattern. They know that. They know what the quarantine that they're facing and the responsibilities each individual has before we're going to be able to get up and running again. And they're going to adhere to it. And then we're going to get back and hopefully move forward and not have any more setbacks from the standpoint of games being canceled. It felt the same way when we faced some challenges and other teams, went through it. And, for the most part, we've handled it pretty well, and testament to the mental strength of our group overall. But, we're going to have to face some of that stuff. And again, you just have to follow the advice of the medical people, and that's what we're trying to do.